I remember that Christmas Eve like it was etched into the quiet corners of my heart. The clock had just chimed past midnight, and the house was wrapped in a heavy silence, the kind that follows a storm. Snowflakes danced outside the window, soft and unhurried, while inside, the tree lights flickered like distant stars, forgotten. I sat there in the armchair by the fire, my hands folded in my lap, staring at the embers dying down. The family had gone to bed hours ago, or at least that's what I told myself. But then I heard them, footsteps, slow, deliberate, creaking on the wooden stairs. Not the hurried patter of children, no. These were heavier, laced with something unspoken, like a secret coming home. My name is Eleanor. I've lived in this old house on Maple Street for 52 years. It's seen babies born, weddings celebrated, and losses that still ache like old bones in winter. That night, as the footsteps grew closer, my breath caught. I thought of my husband, Tom, gone 10 years now. His steps were always like that, steady, reassuring. But this wasn't him. This was something else, something that would unravel the threads. I'd spent a lifetime weaving around my family. I didn't cry when it happened earlier that evening, when my daughter-in-law, Sarah, looked me in the eye across the dinner table and said those words. "Eleanor, maybe it's time you thought about moving on." I just nodded, smiled even. The turkey was drying out under the lights, the cranberry sauce untouched, and my son, David, stared at its plate like it held all the answers. The grandkids, little Mia and Ben, fidgeted with their napkins, sensing the air thicken. I smiled, because what else could I do? Tears would have made it real, and I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. Visual fade in on a warmly lit dining room, candles flickering on a table laden with half-eaten holiday food. Snow falls gently outside the frosted window. Slow pan to an elderly woman's face, soft lines of wisdom and weariness, her hands trembling slightly as she folds a napkin. But those footsteps, they pulled me back from that moment like a hand reaching through the dark. I waited, my heart a quiet drum in my chest. The door to the living room eased open, just a crack at first, spilling a sliver of hallway light, and there she was. Sarah, not in her usual sweater and jeans, but in her nightgown, her hair loose around her shoulders. She stood there, arms crossed, eyes red from crying. "I couldn't sleep," she whispered. "Eleanor, I'm sorry." I patted the cushion beside me. "Come sit, dear. The fire's still warm." She hesitated, then crossed the room, her bare feet silent on the rug. As she sank down, the weight of the evening settled between us. I could smell the pine from the tree mixed with the faint lavender of her lotion. It reminded me of younger days, when scents like that meant new beginnings, not endings. That Christmas Eve wasn't the start of our troubles. No, those had been brewing for months, like tea leaves swirling in a cup, hinting at storms to come. Let me take you back to how it all began, or at least how it felt like it began. My life with Tom was simple, the kind folks envy but rarely understand. We met in '68 at a county fair in Ohio. He was tall, with hands rough from farm work, and eyes that crinkled when he laughed. "Dance with me, Ellie?" he said, holding out a calloused palm. I did, and that was that. We built this house with our own sweat, hammering nails into beams that still hold strong today. David came first, a miracle after years of hoping. He was a quiet boy, always tinkering with radios in the garage, dreaming of circuits and stars. I'd watch him from the kitchen window, flour on my apron, rolling out pie crusts for Sunday supper. "Mom, one day I'll fix the world," he'd say, grease smudged on his cheek. I'd laugh and ruffle his hair. "Start with the toaster, love." Then Sarah entered our world. David brought her home in '05, fresh from college, her smile bright as summer sun. She was a teacher, full of ideas about Montessori gardens and eco-friendly crafts. "Mrs. Hayes, Eleanor," she corrected herself. "I've heard so much about your apple pies." We hugged that first night, and I thought, here's the daughter I never had. She fit right in, helping with the dishes, asking about Tom's war stories. Weddings came next. Theirs was in our backyard, under the old oak, with string lights and wildflowers. I cried then, happy tears, as David slipped the ring on her finger. The grandkids sealed it. Mia arrived in '07, a bundle with Sarah's curls and David's nose. Ben followed 2 years later, chubby-cheeked and curious. Our holidays transformed. Christmas became a symphony of chaos, paper ripping, laughter echoing, the scent of gingerbread thick in the air. I'd string popcorn on the tree, just like my mama taught me, while Sarah arranged the ornaments by color. "Tradition with a twist," she'd tease. David would carve the ham, his knife steady, and Tom, before he passed, would lead the carols, his voice gravelly, but true. Visual, soft montage, black and white photos fading to color, a young couple dancing at a fair, building a house frame by frame, a boy with tools, a wedding under twinkling lights. Cut to family photos on a mantel, babies in arms, holiday tables groaning with food, gentle piano swells. But Tom's leaving changed things. Cancer took him quick, like a thief in the night. One spring morning in '15, he kissed my forehead and said, "Ellie, keep the lights on for me." Then he was gone. The house echoed after that. David and Sarah moved closer into the guest cottage out back to help. At first, it was a blessing. Sarah brought meals, quinoa salads, and veggie stir-fries, healthy twists on my roasts. David fixed the leaky roof without a word. Mia and Ben filled the days with their chatter, drawing pictures of Grandpa in the clouds. Yet, grief has a way of shifting sands under your feet. I noticed it in small ways. Sarah's smiles grew shorter when I'd pull out the old recipe box, yellowed with age. "Eleanor, have you tried almond milk in the gravy? It's kinder to the planet." I'd nod, but inside, a quiet ache stirred. Traditions felt like anchors to me. Pie crusts flaked with butter, stories told by firelight. To her, they were chains, heavy with the past. David, bless him, tried to bridge it. "Mom, Sarah's just excited about new ways." But he was pulled thin, working long hours at the engineering firm, coming home to two worlds. One night, after Mia's school play, we sat in the kitchen. The kids were asleep upstairs. Sarah sipped her tea, steam curling like questions. "Eleanor, you've done so much for us, but the house is getting big for one person. Have you thought about assisted living? Somewhere with friends your age?" I set my cup down, the porcelain warm against my palm. "This is my home, Sarah, Tom's home. Our memories are here." She reached across the table, her hand soft. "I know, but we're family. We want what's best." David cleared his throat. "Let's not rush it, okay? The moment passed, like so many do, but the seed was planted. As autumn leaves turned, the tensions whispered louder. Thanksgiving was the first real crack. I planned the meal like always. Turkey brined overnight, mashed potatoes, creamy with cream. Not that oat stuff. Sarah arrived with a vegan roast alternative. For Ben, he's trying it out. The table was a patchwork of old and new. Mia chattered about school. Ben poked at his peas. But midway through, Sarah said gently, "Eleanor, the sodium in that gravy, it's not great for anyone's heart." I felt my cheeks warm. "It's just once a year, dear." David shot me a look. "Please, Mom." After dinner, as I cleared plates, she followed me to the sink. "I'm not criticizing. I care." Her voice was soft, but it landed like a stone. I scrubbed harder, suds bubbling. "Caring doesn't mean changing everything, Sarah." She paused, drying a fork. "And holding on doesn't mean it's right." The words hung there, sharp, in the quiet. Winter crept in, frosting the windows. Christmas loomed, and I poured my heart into it. I baked cookies, sugar ones with sprinkles cut into stars and bells, wrapped gifts in paper I'd saved from last year. A sweater for Sarah, knit by hand, books for the kids, tools for David. The tree went up early, branches heavy with ornaments from Tom's childhood, a silver bell from our first Christmas, a wooden soldier Mia made in kindergarten. I strung lights alone, humming Silent Night, the melody catching in my throat. They came over more that month, but it felt different. Sarah suggested we skip the full dinner, do appetizers instead. Less stress, more time together. David nodded. "Sounds good, Mom." I agreed, but inside, it stung. The big meal was our ritual, plates passed hand to hand, stories flowing like wine. Now, it was cheese boards and dips, quick bites before the kids' bedtime. One evening, 2 weeks before the holiday, we gathered in the living room. The fire crackled, casting shadows on the walls. Mia was practicing her lines for the school pageant. Mary in the manger, wide-eyed and earnest. Ben built a Lego fort by the hearth. Sarah and I wrapped garland around the banister, our fingers brushing pine needles. "This smells like magic," I said, smiling. She laughed. "It does. Remember when we did this with Tom? He'd sneak bites of the dough." The memory warmed us, but then she straightened. "Eleanor, about the future." David and I talked. "The cottage is too small now. We need more space for the kids' playroom, a home office." My hands stilled on the twine. "What are you saying?" She met my eyes, steady. "Maybe sell the big house, downsize. We could help you. Find a cozy apartment nearby." It hit like cold wind through a crack. Sell? This wasn't just walls and roof. It was Tom's laughter in the hall, David's first steps on these floors, the ghost of holiday feasts in every corner. "This is our legacy," I whispered, "not something to trade." David walked in then, arms full of firewood. "Mom, it's practical. You'd be closer to us, no stairs to climb." Ben looked up from his Legos. "Stay with us, Grandma?" His small voice cracked the air. I forced a smile, kneeling to hug him. "Always sweet boy." But that night, alone in bed, the ceiling stared back. Inner thoughts swirled. Was I the stubborn one, clinging to echoes while they built tomorrows? Or were they erasing me piece by piece? Visual. Slow zoom on autumn leaves swirling in wind, transitioning to a kitchen sink with steaming dishes. cut to a woman wrapping garland, faces close, then pulling back as tension shadows their expressions. Gentle strings underscore the dialogue, fading to piano for reflection. The days blurred toward Christmas, small frictions piled like snowdrifts. I'd find Sarah reorganizing my pantry, easier access for healthier choices. Or David sighing when I mentioned the old carols playlist. Mom, the kids like modern stuff now. Mia, sensing it, clung tighter during story time, her head on my shoulder as I read The Night Before Christmas. Don't go away, Grandma, she'd murmur. I'd hold her close, whispering, never, Petal. Then came the cookie baking, a tradition since David's boyhood, flour dusting counters, cutters clanging, laughter sweet as the icing. I invited them over. Sarah arrived with gluten-free flour and organic sugar. Allergy-friendly, she explained. We rolled dough, the kids' hands sticky. But as I piped frosting, red swirls, green leaves, she said, Eleanor, these are lovely, but next time, maybe fruit instead. Less sugar rush? Ben licked his fingers. I like Grandma's way. David chuckled from the table. Balance, everyone. But his eyes avoided mine. Later, as they left with tins of treats, Sarah hugged me at the door. Thank you. It means a lot. Her warmth felt genuine yet distant, like sun through clouds. I watched their car crunch down the drive, tail lights fading into dusk. Alone again, I swept crumbs, each one a tiny regret. Why couldn't I bend? Why did letting go feel like losing Tom all over? The week before Christmas, illness knocked. A flu swept through, mild for most, but it laid me low. Fever, dreams of footsteps in empty halls. David called daily. Rest, Mom. We'll handle the lights. Sarah dropped soup at the door, homemade with kale and turmeric. Feel better soon. Grateful, I sipped it, the broth earthy and strange. But when I recovered, the house felt altered. They'd strung new LED lights, efficient and bright. No popcorn strands. Saves energy, David said proudly. I nodded, but my chest tightened. That night, I lay awake, listening to the wind rattle panes. Memories played like an old reel. Tom and me dancing in this very kitchen to Bing Crosby. David as a teen, sneaking cookies at midnight. Sarah, pregnant with Mia, glowing as we planned the nursery. Where had the ease gone? Replaced by plans and practicality, words like downsize, slicing quiet joys. Christmas Eve dawned crisp, the air sharp with promise. I rose early, brewing coffee strong as Tom's. The menu was pared down, appetizers, as suggested. I set out cheese, crackers, small ham glazed with honey. Gifts waited under the tree, wrapped neat. By noon, they arrived, cheeks pink from cold, hugs all round, Mia with a drawing of us baking, Ben with a lopsided ornament. Sarah carried a poinsettia red as hope. For you, Eleanor. David helped in the kitchen, chopping veggies for a salad. Smells great, Mom. We moved in rhythm like old times. But Sarah hovered, rearranging platters. More color here makes it festive. I bit my tongue, smiling. Dinner unfolded in the living room, plates on laps, the tree twinkling. Laughter bubbled. Mia's pageant tales, Ben's elf jokes. We sang carols, voices blending, though Sarah stuck to the chorus. Then, as dessert circled, my apple pie still warm, the air shifted, forks paused. Sarah set her napkin down. Eleanor, we've been thinking about the talk. David shifted, plate balanced on his knee. The kids looked up, spoons mid-air. My fork stilled in the crust. What talk? Though I knew. She leaned forward, eyes kind but firm. The house. It's too much for you alone. The stairs. The upkeep. We found a place. A senior community with activities right in town. You'd love the gardens. David nodded. It's got a wait list, but we pulled strings. The words landed soft, but they hollowed me. Gardens. Activities? This house was my garden, roots deep in every room. Tom's photo on the mantel watched, silent. Mia frowned. But Grandma lives here? Ben echoed, with us. I looked at them, my family, faces blurred by unshed tears. This is home, I said, voice steady as I could manage. Our home. Sarah reached for my hand. It can be again, in a new way. We're doing this because we love you. Love. The word, twisted, sharp. Was love measured in square feet? In efficiency? David cleared his throat. Mom, please, think about it. The room shrank, walls pressing. I saw Tom's eyes in his, pleading, but I couldn't, not then. I'll think, I whispered. Pie forgotten, they gathered coats. Hugs goodbye felt brittle. Merry Christmas, Mom, David murmured at the door. Snow swirled as they drove off, red taillights swallowed by night. Alone, I cleared the table, crumbs mocking me. The clock ticked toward midnight. I sank into the armchair, fire low, tree lights humming. Regret washed over. Had I pushed too hard? Held too tight? Inner voice whispered, let go, Ellie, for them. But the ache bloomed, deep as winter dark. Visual. Tension builds in the living room, close-ups on faces, flickering firelight, casting long shadows. Plates clink softly, cut to snow falling heavier outside, a lone figure at the window. Emotional strings rise, then hush to silence. That's when the footsteps came. Past midnight, as I said, creak by creak, down the stairs. My heart lifted. Perhaps David forgetting a gift, or Mia needing a story. But it was Sarah. She slipped in, nightgown pale, eyes shadowed. I heard you moving. Couldn't sleep upstairs. The guest room, where they'd stayed the night. I gestured to the chair opposite. Sit. There's pie left, if you want. She shook her head, perching on the edge. The fire popped, embers glowing, silence stretched, comfortable yet charged. Finally she spoke, voice small. Eleanor, what I said tonight, it came out wrong. I didn't mean to hurt you. I watched her, this woman who'd become my daughter in all but blood. Lines of worry etched her young face. Hurt's part of loving, Sarah, deep as roots. She nodded, twisting her hands. I know, but seeing you here, alone, it scares me. What if something happens? The fall last winter on the ice, you could have. Her voice cracked. Memories flooded. That icy patch by the steps, my ankle twisting, David's panic as he helped me up. I'm careful, I said softly, but this house, it's more than walls. It's Tom. It's you and David bringing Mia home. Her first cry echoing. Ben's laughter in the tub. Our Christmases, with bells and bad carols. Tears welled in her eyes, spilling. I remember. God, I do. When Tom passed, you held me while I sobbed like I was the widow. You've been my rock. She wiped her cheek. But the kids, they're growing. They need space to build their own memories. And you deserve ease, not worry. I reached across, my hand covering hers. Cool, trembling. Ease isn't in apartments, dear. It's in heart's clothes. If selling means you're happy, truly, then maybe. But even as I said it, doubt flickered. Was this surrender or wisdom? She squeezed back. It's not about us winning. It's you thriving. Walk the gardens with friends, paint classes, whatever lights you up. A pause. Then, remember the locket you gave me? With Mia's hair inside. You said, family's what we carry, not where we live. I smiled. Faint. I did say that. The clock chimed 1, soft bells in the night. Outside, snow hushed the world. Sarah leaned closer. What if we don't sell yet? Fix the house instead. Add a stair lift. Open the kitchen for all of us. Make new memories here. Her words hung, a bridge over the chasm. Hope stirred, fragile as a candle flame. You'd want that? She nodded, fierce. Yes, because this is home too, for all of us. We sat then, hands linked, fire dying to coals. Footsteps had brought her down, not mine, but the echo of ours, pulling us back. Dawn crept in, gray light filtering through curtains. David found us there, asleep in chairs, hands still clasped. He knelt, eyes wide. Mom? Sarah? We stirred, blinking. Mia and Ben tumbled down soon after, rubbing sleep. Pancakes? Ben yawned. Laughter broke. Tentative. That morning, over syrup-sticky plates, we talked. No rush, no plans etched in stone. Just words, weaving loose ends. Stair lift sounds practical, I admitted. David grinned. I'll research. Sarah added berries to the batter, a twist on tradition. Mia drew a picture. Our house with wings, everyone inside. Gifts unwrapped slow. The sweater fit Sarah perfect, soft wool against her skin. She gasped, hugging me. You knit this? Every stitch, I said. Ben's book sparked stories by the tree. Hours slipped, snow melting to slush outside. No grand gestures, just presence. Quiet strength in the ordinary. Visual midnight scene. Woman entering room, fire glow on faces, hands clasping. Transition to dawn. Family around kitchen table, steam rising from plates, children's drawing scattered. Piano melody lifts, warm and resolving. In the days that followed, change came gentle. David installed grab bars in the bath. Safety first. Mom. Sarah and I pored over paint swatches for the kitchen, her eco colors mingling with my creams. Compromise, she winked. Mia helped plant bulbs in the yard. Spring promises under snow. Ben and I strung popcorn after all, kernels popping like tiny joys. Regrets lingered, soft shadows. I'd replay that dinner, my stubborn heart. But realization dawned. Family isn't preserved in amber. It bends like willows in wind, holding too tight bruises, letting light in heals. Sarah taught me that, her care, fierce under practicality. And I, perhaps, showed her roots run deep, nourishing even in storm. One evening, weeks later, as spring teased buds, we gathered again. No holiday wait, just supper. My roast with her greens. Laughter flowed easy. As plates cleared, Sarah pulled me aside. Thank you, Eleanor, for hearing my footsteps that night. I hugged her close. Thank you for walking them. Life's not a straight path, woven neat. It's footsteps in the dark, hesitant, seeking. Sometimes they lead away, sometimes back. But always they remind we're not alone, not if we listen. Visual montage of renewal, hands painting walls, children planting flowers, family walking in garden. Fade to elderly woman by window, smiling at falling leaves turning gold. Strings fade to gentle piano close. And so, on quiet nights now, when the house settles, I still hear them. Footsteps, not echoes of loss, but rhythms of coming home. Merry Christmas, my loves. Wherever you are, may your steps find warmth